markets, because I think that's crucial with regards to understanding what's going to happen with the UK markets tomorrow. Okay, so basically, what's the fundamental outlook? First of all, we came into the session with the Chinese market higher. Okay, we had the European markets higher, with the Chinese market higher. The Shanghai was up pretty handsome, well, not handsomely, but the Hang Seng was up handsomely. The Shanghai was certainly closed up. Okay, and the Nikkei came off the lows. We had a substantial sell-off in the Nikkei overnight, minus 350. Then eventually ended up being minus 100 in the end. So again, that's a net positive. Okay, we had stronger Chinese data. Okay, so alleviating concerns of any threat of a slowdown. Okay, a global slowdown or lack of growth, etc. Okay, so these were all situations that we basically had that were basically transpiring in regards to the market. Bear with me. Let me just see if everything's working here. Okay, so that's the situation that we had there. Okay, not only that, we had a talk of QE, so every man and his dog talking up QE. Okay, and that obviously propelled and helped the European markets to short squeeze. We had quite obviously, as you can see here, the Athens stock market certainly higher, because there was talk of the Germans or the Europeans easing restrictions or coming to some sort of compromise. So you had Brexit's concerns being alleviated. You had basically, as you can see with the Athens stock market up for the day, you also had concerns with regards to QE being alleviated as well, because every man and his dog talking of QE with all these random numbers about X amount will be put forth and X and this will happen and so on and so forth, and so everybody talking about QE and stating it's not it's not if, but it's when with regards to QE. And also with regards to the Brexit concerns, everybody talking that down, that Greece will not be leaving the Eurozone, Samaras and Syriza, etc., coming to some potential conclusion, so on and so forth. There was even talk of Greek debt restructuring and allowing them 6 months leeway and so on and so forth. So basically it's about alleviating those concerns. Now bear with me. Okay, so that situation you had there. Then obviously global growth concerns alleviated as well. Although having said that, I mean, copper has dropped quite drastically and dramatically, and oil prices continue to decline. So certainly a counter argument there with regards to the price action in those. But having said that, regardless, the stock market's obviously finished higher, and that's what counts. Okay, as you can see here, the FTSE up by 40 points to 6542 region towards the end of the day. Obviously, as you can see, the DAX up quite handsomely there by 1.5%. The CAC up quite handsomely as well, and then also the Euro stocks up quite handsomely as well. So those two indices are up as well. So overall, net positive going into the US session. As you can see here, the US session gapped higher quite substantially with all those factors or variables I've explained. Okay, and we basically are gapping higher, gap and go. So as one individual, I think on Twitter said today, which I quite liked the commentary, is we gap, we ramp, and then we camp. Okay, or we ramp, we gap, and then we camp. So it's interesting. So you ramp and camp after a gap. Okay, so that's exactly what was supposed to happen anyway. And then we obviously sold off, and I'll discuss exactly what happened there. So okay, so that's the situation and scenario that occurred here. Okay. Now USD JPY pushed up higher up to the almost 119 level. That obviously helped the Nikkei obviously retrace, etc. And then this sell-off here was mainly due to the USD JPY and Euro JPY making new lows. So the US market sell-off seems to be all about the USD JPY at this present moment. Now oil did make a new low at 44. So maybe that was another variable in this market that caused a sell-off, and that's certainly an argument that one can make. Okay, that's certainly another argument that one can make. Okay, with regards to the sell-off, and that's where one individual has made it, because I've seen the talk and the discussion on Twitter. So that's interesting as well. Okay, so I've explained to you the reasons for the markets going higher and the reasons why I expected the markets to continue going higher, especially given the fact that in the UK we had talk about, obviously, well, not talk, we had data regarding deflation. Okay, so deflationary data, and that obviously does mean that interest rates are going to remain lower for longer. So again, that added fuel to the fire for the rally, and the FTSE itself did rise quite substantially. So interesting scenario. So this whole rally here, was based on obviously the variables I've explained. Those variables still exist, and we'll see exactly how the Asian markets will react. Now, China obviously has deflationary concerns. So that means that if they are going to be fighting deflation, as the latest tweet comes out, then obviously that means it's more than likely going to be more rate cuts or more stimulus, etc. From that perspective, because if they want to fight or avert deflation, that's going to help Chinese stocks, and that will obviously inadvertently help the global market as well. Okay, folks. Now the next step, working out where we stand from a technical perspective. Okay, given the fact that the jobs report last Friday has been interpreted as being bullish, well, that's what price action told us until obviously today's scenario and situation. Okay, that's basically what's happening here. Okay, now let's have a look at it on a daily chart. So daily chart, what we have here now is we have this a lower high and this gap. So it's all about this gap. As you can see here, we sold off to the 4133 level. We have closed back up above the gap at 4166 and higher. Okay, so it's all about this gap. Okay, it's all about this gap. Okay, so it's all about this gap. So if this gap can hold, then we certainly do propel higher on a daily chart. Okay, let's go to the 60-minute chart because we're looking at the Nasdaq. Now, I was expecting a potential inverted head and shoulders type scenario here, obviously for the markets to go higher and obviously potentially close the gap up here. That's obviously not the case anymore. Okay, so we'll basically have to see now and see exactly how this market plays out. I mean, you've got some sort of potential support there. It's all about this resistance and support line here and here. So these two are the levels that we're going to be watching. Obviously, if you do sell off again, then obviously we go down to the 4090 level, but I can't see that happening. Now, this sell-off in the Nasdaq also was led by GoPro, by the way. I mean, Apple seems to have found some sort of patent about something pathetic anyway. I mean, it's unbelievable, some of these excuses for these patents, honestly. Some sort of time recording patent, I can't remember now. It's pathetic. Either way, GoPro shares fell 10%, and obviously that caused the Nasdaq to come under pressure. Now, it's quite, I mean, it's pretty phenomenal, the fact that we actually rallied quite substantially here, retested the previous high, and then obviously we failed, and obviously sold off quite substantially. Very interesting. Okay, anyway, so this is basically where we stand on the 60-minute chart. So we're back at this potential support zone. Obviously, if that doesn't hold, the next level is going to be 4090 on the 60-minute chart. Now, if you go to a 10-minute chart, let's see what we can see in the Nasdaq. Now, obviously, we've gone back and we've closed this gap. We sold off below the gap, which was quite strange. I didn't expect the gap to close regardless. I mean, if you have obviously talk of QE from ECB and the European market, I mean, as you can see, the German DAX was up by 1.5%. Very unlikely you'll see the Nasdaq close the gap with German market up quite substantially. So again, very confusing. Now we have a expanding wedge pattern, and we have this potential bull flag type scenario here. So you are looking for a potential bullish move higher. That's basically my expectations going into tomorrow, because I can't see any catalyst, whether it's geopolitical or socio-economical, that causes this market to sell off. Yes, we do have the OMT meeting, or the outcome of the OMT, and also Mr. Draghi has a meeting tomorrow as well, so that's going to be very interesting to see what the outcome is at. Obviously, if the OMT, if it's not outlawed or if it's not banned, then obviously that encourages the concept of QE, and QE to certainly be come into force. Now, given the fact that we've got deflationary fears, we have terrorism fears, and there are a lot of other concerns with regards to global growth and deflation, etc., it's going to be more than likely that we are going to do QE, because regardless of what the Germans say, especially now that we have Brexit concerns. Okay, so there's going to be some sort of deal reached with Greece, and obviously they have to dangle the carrot of QE as well, so that's going to be interesting. Okay, Right, that's the case situation here. So in the interim, support level is around the 4140, and then obviously we've got this gap level at 6165, and the market still really push higher at 4182 region. Okay, before pulling back. So interesting to see exactly what happens there. Now let me just get rid of this trend line. No longer needed. All these trend lines no longer needed. That gap level probably will be needed, and that's about it for now. Okay, we have a gap here. Obviously we got this inverted head and shoulders play out pretty well, and that's what caused the gap higher. So that's basically where we are from that perspective. Okay, interesting times. That's basically where we are. Okay, so that's your Nasdaq. Okay, so support levels I've already explained, and that's basically what I expect to transpire. We do have obviously this support level here, which obviously was torn through and wasn't really respected to a large extent, so which is a shame. Now what's interesting is we do have a gap below at 4110, but I can't see that being hit as of yet. But the market is the market, anything can occur, so always bear that in mind as well. Okay, interesting how the Nasdaq itself had a 100-point swing. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal. Okay, and that's basically where we stand. So 4140, long as that holds, stock market remains bullish, the Nasdaq remains bullish. Okay, so where are we with regards to semiconductors? Let's have a look at the daily chart. Semiconductors, obviously we've sold off now, and we've failed to potentially put in a reversal, so that's not exactly a bullish sign for now. Okay, and this is basically where we are. Okay, so we're into this zone here. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see if we can hold support level here, previous resistance equals support here, previous resistance equals support there, and then obviously horizontal support here. So these are all support levels that we are going to be looking at and seeing if the market can hold in the daily chart. The biotechs obviously you've had quite a substantial run as of late. We've closed the gap and still remains bullish from my perspective, even though we are consolidating at the highs. The most important thing is here is that we did push into make a new high, so that's potentially bullish. And obviously this certainly from my perspective, this certainly looks like it wants to push higher, and it's interesting to see how we've obviously gone and closed that level there as well. Okay, so that's going to be very interesting. Okay, so let's see exactly what happens here. Given the fact that biotechs have made a new high, my bias still remains bullish. Okay, with regards to the Nasdaq at present, and I'll be looking to buy dips with regards to that. Okay, understood. Okay, right. Let's just move on slowly. Okay, next indices, we're going to look at the S&P 500 after my conclusion with regards to Nasdaq means that we've made a base. Just bear with me 1 second. My charts. Let me just roll my pro real-time charts again. Not sure why my S&P chart is playing up on me. Right, let me just get this loaded again. I think there's some sort of error here. Bear with me. Hopefully I can get this loaded. There we go. Come on, prorealtime.com. Let's get you fired up and ready. Okay, here we go. So, come on. prorealtime.com. Hurry up. Come on, load up. Come on, just waiting for this to load up. Very slow today. I think there may be an issue with Pro Real Time at this current juncture. Bear with me. Come on, Pro Real Time. Why are you so slow today? Apologies for delay, just giving you an insight into what's happening here. As you can see here, CAC was up quite substantially by 1.5%. The Euro stocks was up by 1.6%. The FTSE was up by 0.6%, even with Alcoa. Surprised, I thought it'd be up much more than that, but that's the case. Hang Seng up by 0.8%. Shanghai. Okay, we've already started trading with Shanghai now, so it's open given the fact that it's 1 o'clock in the morning. We've got the MySex was more or less finishing flat, well not flat, sorry, up by 1.3%, and obviously as we already mentioned here, the actual Athens market was up by 3.26%, so that's interesting. Okay, so the charts are loading now, so S&P 500 folks, okay. S&P 500, where are now? There we are. Okay, so S&P 500 now, where exactly are we there? Okay, so 60-minute chart, we've got this potential right shoulder forming, although we have put in a closer gap and put in a potential doji pattern, so again, that's something that needs to be assessed. Okay, 60-minute chart, we're just basically waffling between the two zones. We've got a gap above, and obviously we've got this a market that can go either way. Obviously we've broken out that, so that's no longer necessary. We've closed the gap there, so that's no longer necessary. All we basically have is this trend line or diagonal trend line, so we've got this pivot low here, we're going to connect it to this pivot here, and it basically gives us the pivot today, or the low of today basically. Okay, there's no real horizontal support that one can find that I can see that's of any crucial significance. Okay, other than obviously this potential double bottom scenario here, and that's about it. Okay, so you've got a fail bull flag, that's not exactly a bullish sign. Okie dokie, so we failed to close this gap below at around the 2002 level, so that's going to be very interesting going forward as to what happens there. Okay, and we basically have put in a bullish engulfing candle, and that's one that will dictate for now. If we obviously do manage to go higher, let's see what the potential outcome is going to be here. Okay, that's your cap level there. So we're looking at a move from here to here. So you're looking at a potential bull flag type scenario. Looking at a bull flag. Here we go. So bull flag move here. That's going to be interesting again. Okay, so that's something that we'll watch out for. Although you have put in a lower high, so that certainly needs to be watched as well. So certainly not a potentially bullish scenario. Okay, let's have a look at the cross-reference this with the Russell 2000 and the Russell obviously 3000 as well. Let's have a look at Russell 3000, 2000. Okay, so a potential doji pattern here. Obviously we've got an unfilled gap above on the daily chart, 60-minute chart. Again, holding this horizontal support. Again, diagonal trendline support. So again, potentially into key and important support zones. Okay, we put in a bullish engulfing candle on a 60-minute chart, so that bodes well for the bulls. You're looking at a potential 200 MA resistance above if you do bounce back. So certainly some sort of support zone being built there. Okay, with regards to the Russell 2000, I mean you can cross-reference that with the Russell 3000 as well. Again, a potential doji candle on the daily chart, 60-minute chart, potential there for support to hold, with regards to it being a bullish engulfing candle. Okay. Now, last but not least is the Dow. This is going to be interesting. Okay, so looking at the Dow Jones, let's look at daily chart. Daily chart, obviously, as you can see, we're still holding this key trend line. Okay, looking at a 60-minute chart. Again, we've had a failed bull flag at double top there, or horizontal resistance there. And now we're into this no man's land territory. Okay. 10-minute chart, we tried to make a comeback, so again that needs to be respected, and we'll see exactly how this transpires. Okay. Now let's have a look at the Dow Transport, see if I can work out anything from there. We're holding this horizontal support resistance here, previous resistance equals support, so that's interesting. Looking at 10-minute chart, we're holding that potential horizontal or diagonal trendline support, so that looks very interesting and promising as well. There you go. Okay, holding this diagonal trend line here. 10-minute chart, we're looking at potential intraday double bottom and a potential pivot higher with regards to it being a bull flag. So again, that needs to be respected. So that's going to be very, very interesting. Okay. Now, overall, my conclusion here is that the markets are certainly into potential support, and we are looking for a move higher. Now, that will be dependent upon number one, USD JPY, Euro JPY putting in a base, given the fact that the market was so sensitive to them today, because they represent risk. Number two, the scenario that we're going to be looking at for number two is going to be oil. So oil needs to put in a base, given the fact that Chinese data came out better than expected, and given the fact that we've got ECB QE, I can't see why oil isn't making a base. And this $45 level is absolutely crucial now to it being making a base. So from my perspective, it certainly is a base there. Now my swing trading, I have actually gone long the FTSE from 6530, so I am biased bullish at this very moment in time, and I'm looking for around a 6,700, 800 level to be hit, provided the oil makes a pivot low or puts in a low, and then obviously starts to move higher. Then obviously Kiwi and Aussie should technically go with it. So that again is going to be very, very interesting. Right, so like I said, conclusion is that we are into some type of support zone, given the fact that Brexit fears and QE fears are all being alleviated. So European markets certainly still looking to be into the bullish zone. Okay, folks. So risk on, risk